Okay, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to be mindful of the time, starting close to 7. My name is Kelli Robinson. I am one of the career advisors here in the Matthews Center for Career Development. And if you could, while we're joining right now, if you're able to turn on your video, I'd appreciate it. That way I'm seeing faces and not just seeing black screens. That's always helpful when you're doing a virtual presentation. So thank you. I appreciate it, Stephen, etc. Again, if we have met before, it's nice to see you again. If we haven't met before, it's nice to meet you. I am one of the career advisors in the office, and I work with students who are interested in education. I work with students interested in nonprofits or government and policy, which is probably what's bringing you all here tonight. And I also serve as the pre-law advisor. So if you have areas of interest under any of those sections, feel free to schedule an appointment with me in the Matthews Center. We're located right across from the post office on the 2nd floor in Alvarez. So tonight I'm recording this session, so I will be sharing it out with people who are attending if you have to hop off early, but I hope that you'll stay because I'll be allowing some time at the end for questions. What we're talking about tonight, believe it or not, I know that we're only like just a month into the fall semester and haven't even gotten to spring break yet, but we're already talking about the internship search for summer 2024 if you are interested in possibly interning in Washington, D.C. What I like to say to students is when it comes to internship timelines with regard to government and policy, while many timelines kind of, happen here and there are going to be opportunities that will open up in the spring semester, a lot of opportunities you're going to find, especially for more competitive types of programs, their internship applications open up quite early and deadlines actually happen quite early in the spring semester. For example, one of the programs that sparked me wanting to do this this particular program is for the State Department. So if there are anybody here tonight who are interested in doing State Department internships, possibly for summer of 2024, that particular internship application opens up next month and closes rather quickly before the spring semester even begins. So with that in mind, I'm hoping that what we're going to do tonight is we're going to talk about some resources and strategies for how you can apply for summer 2024 internships in DC. If you have questions as we go along, as I said, I'm going to leave time for Q&A at the end, but if you want to also just drop them into the chat box, you can direct them to me directly if you want to keep them anonymous, and I'll be sure to check that chat box at the end to make sure I'm addressing any questions that might be there. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen because I do have a slide deck that I do want to share with all of you. And can I get a thumbs up that you can see that slide deck, please? Thank you. I appreciate it. So here are the topics that we're going to be covering tonight. And I will be sending the slide deck out to you because it does have some hyperlinks for everybody to visit. So feel free to write down notes, but don't worry about writing down what you're seeing on the screen right now. I want to make sure that we go over some online site highlights for the summer internship search. There are particular online sites that I want you to be definitely aware of. We're going to talk about some sample and common application materials that you're going to need for your applications for summer internships, and then how our office can help you with those. Even though I'll be definitely highlighting some online websites for you to visit for internships, I can't underestimate the importance of networking and having career conversations. So we'll be talking about that and resources to assist you with that. I also want to make sure that you're aware of some upcoming programs that we have that might be of interest to you this coming semester, and then just emphasizing how you're in the driver's seat when it comes to this particular internship search. Okay. So some online resources that I'm actually going to walk through tonight to make you aware of how you can use these in your search. Handshake is a fantastic resource. I see all sorts of different internship opportunities for students that are posted in Handshake. I want to show you two particular ways that you can help Handshake work for you when you are looking for jobs. And then I also want to show you the government and policy industry guide that can be found in Handshake, because that's a fantastic resource for finding opportunities as well. So I'm going to hop over here to a Handshake student account. A few things that I want to point out. One is when you hop into your Handshake account, go under your profile and be sure to go to the career interests section. And you want to make sure that this particular section is updated to show what kinds of opportunities you might be interested in looking for in Handshake, to show the kinds of industries that you might be interested, but also at the very least, please check off the Davidson career clusters that best match your particular interests. So for what you all are interested in, you're definitely going to have the public policy, politics, industry clusters selected. I'd also encourage you to select the education or nonprofit career cluster, because many think tanks and policy organizations can be considered nonprofits. And then if there are any other areas which you're finding interesting, I encourage you to update those or to check those off and save your career interests. How this is helpful is our office uses these particular career clusters to communicate with you guys. I know it may seem like you get a lot of emails from Handshake, but very oftentimes those emails that are coming from Handshake are actually coming from the career advisors in the Matthews Center through the Handshake portal. So for example, when I see particular programs, events, or opportunities that I know would be of interest to students who have checked off the policy career cluster, I'll make sure that a targeted message goes out to students who have selected that cluster. So especially if you're interested in doing an active internship search, then I definitely would make sure that your career clusters are updated, and also make sure to be checking those emails that you're receiving from Handshake. They typically go out Sunday evening. We also send out the regular weekly digest, which also includes information for each of these specific career clusters. So I just wanted to take some time to make sure that you see that and you have that information updated when you get a chance. I always like to say that Handshake is a lot like Netflix, meaning that the more that you watch something on Netflix, for example, if you watch a TV show, then Netflix will suggest, hey, you liked that particular show. You may like this movie, or you may like this particular show. It's making suggestions based on how you use the app. Handshake is the same. The more that you're using Handshake, the more that it gets a feel for the types of opportunities that you're looking for. And it's going to start to make suggestions based on the searches that you are doing. So I want to hop over now to the job section, which is where you are going to find particular positions posted. And I'm going to show you how you can help Handshake work for you through setting up saved searches. So let's say in this search box right here, what I encourage you to look for is the word summer. We'll start with that, since we know that we're looking for summer opportunities. Okay. We also know the location that we're looking for. So we're going to check location, and we're going to type in Washington, D.C. If I could spell, it would probably help. So we're going to check District of Columbia. I encourage you to probably make that distance within 10 to 15 miles, just so we know that we can access the metro, or that it's easy to get to in the district. Okay. And then we know, if we keep scrolling here, that we're interested in looking for an internship. So what's going to show up is particular positions that might be in Handshake right now that fit summer internship in Washington, D.C. We could also do a similar search for policy. Let's see what we get. Okay, so we'll see different policy internships that are in there. Okay, see this particular section right here, this box up here that says don't miss out, save your search. I'm going to click on this particular link, save your search, and you'll see down here at the bottom this green box that says created a job alert. What that means is that for my particular Handshake account, I've created a job alert that whenever a position that has policy in its title, that is an internship that's located in Washington, D.C., posts on Handshake, I'm going to get a notification about that. You can set up as many saved searches you can set up as many search alerts as you would like to. And once you find yourself, you know what, like, I'm kind of done searching for this, you can indicate first how you want to get notified, and second, how often you want to receive them. And when you think that you are done searching for opportunities, you can go ahead and you can delete that particular search alert. So that's a great way to let Handshake do the work for you, setting up particular searches. Next, what I want to point out is heading over to the employers section of Handshake. There are thousands of employers that are in Handshake. What I've done for students who might be interested in policy or other similar types of opportunities in Washington, D.C., so you go to the employers section and scroll to labels. And it's probably already going to come up. I want you to click on this particular label, DIW, which stands for Davidson and Washington option. What's going to come up is a list from A to Z of employers or organizations who fit the profile of what a student who's interested in a Davidson and Washington policy type of internship may find. Now, does this mean that all of these particular organizations list internships on Handshake? Not necessarily, but many of them do. And so what you can do is when you scroll through and you look at particular positions that might be of interest, you can click on follow. So now you're following this particular organization, and you can continue to check to see if they post an internship on Handshake, or you can take that particular organization and do a search of that organization's particular website to find out about internship opportunities that they may have. So these are 2 ways that Handshake can work for you, 3 ways if we include the career clusters when you're doing your search for opportunities. Next, I want to hop over to the government and policy guide that I was talking of in the previous slides. So here we are in Handshake again in the Career Center. If you're new to this section, if you haven't scheduled an appointment before with a career advisor in the Matthews Center, this is where you would do that, clicking on appointments and going to schedule a new appointment and walking through which type of appointment you would like to schedule. We're going to hop over here right now to the resources section. We have a fantastic Career Center resources website that once you get to, you can save this site so you don't have to go through the Handshake navigation again, but I just wanted to show you that you can find it there. There are so many different particular resources here for you. I encourage you to visit it just to browse. Every type of career question that you might have is pretty much assured that there's going to be a resource here to answer that. We're looking at particular industries, and so we're going to scroll down to find the government and policy guide. And so once you're here, again, it's a Google site, so you can bookmark this particular site. This is a pretty extensive site, I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of particular resources because when you think about working in DC, that could mean so much. I've tried to organize it as easy, I think, as streamlined as it can be. So as far as job and internship resources, organized by federal government and what are the particular branches that you might find. When you look at ones that are highlighted, for example, or put in bold, excuse me, those are particular sites or organizations that I feel are tremendously helpful, organizations that or websites that I find myself visiting quite often when I'm talking to students about having an interest in government and policy, perhaps ones to flag first to visit. So for example, under the State Department, this is the contact information for the State Department. This is where they will post information related to internships and jobs. This is where you can also sign up to receive email notifications from the State Department about internships, fellowships, programs, events, This is where I learn a lot of my information that I pass along to students because I've signed up to receive their emails. Another organization, the Partnership for Public Service. This is not affiliated, it's not a government organization per se, but it is a tremendous resource. Its sole purpose is to connect people with positions, full-time and internship with the federal government. And so when clicking on this particular site, I'm not going to click on all of these for the purpose of time tonight, but when clicking on this particular site, it has a vast amount of resources for applying to internships with the federal government, applying to, opportunities with different agencies. Federal government is pretty huge. You think of State Department, you think of EPA, you think of all of the big departments, but agencies and organizations that fall under the title of federal government is very vast. And the Partnership for Public Service is a great way to, number one, learn about opportunities, and number two, learn about how to apply for those particular positions. If you're interested in positions with the federal government, and so we're not talking on the Hill and working with a member of Congress, we're talking about working for a department or an agency. All of their particular positions, full-time and internship, are going to be posted on this website, USA Jobs. So if you haven't heard of it, go to this particular website and definitely bookmark it. This subsection of it and this other new subsection of it is specific for internship opportunities. Every department is going to post internship opportunities according to their own schedule. There's no opening day per se for federal internship positions and no closing day. Each particular agency and organization operates on their own timeline, but this is how you can find out information. If you think you might be interested in working on the Hill, congressional internships are ones that typically do open up a little bit further, later for summer internship opportunities. These particular internships usually open up for applications the semester before that internship is going to take place. So right now they are looking for applicants for spring 2023 internships. They will be posting in the spring semester for applicants for their summer positions. You can click on each of these for House and Senate information. From the House of Representatives, again, similar to the State Department, you can sign up to receive a weekly email for the internship bulletin that is sent to you to learn about particular opportunities. However, with members of the House, I highly recommend that you think about perhaps members from your own state or from your own district, or think about other states where you or family might live, because that can be an excellent way to make a connection to that particular office. This particular site, Traverse Jobs, great new resource that we have for Davidson students. I'm super excited about it. This actually started very grassroots. This was two people who interned and worked in DC, and when they were doing their search, they figured there has to be an easier way than searching a lot of particular websites. And so they put their own website together, and now it's become their full-time job. They do require a subscription, which the Matthews Center has paid for. So it is free for Davidson students when you go to that website and enter this username and enter this password. Policy jobs, jobs on the Hill, public relations, think tank, a variety of particular opportunities you can find at that particular site. And then finally, getting down to, if you think you may be interested in policy research or think that you might be interested in working for a think tank. There is practically one on every corner in DC, and these particular sites do a great job of listing the particular organizations and their focus. If we go here specifically to this list of think tanks, let's see if this works. This was not a site that I created per se. It was a site that I found and it was too good to pass up, so I grabbed it. So you can see it lists a variety of particular organizations, and even lists perhaps what their focus is, or perhaps what their background or their ideology might be. And so you can search for particular filters. If you wanted to search, let's see, we just want to focus on think tanks, okay? And so then anything that has think tank in it, it's going to list that there. This is going to take you to their particular website. How you find internships at particular websites, again, is going to vary, which I think is showing how extensive the internship search can be. I've never been to this website before. So you may find internships under employment. You may find it under fellowships and opportunities. You may find it in a section that says about us. So what you're really going to want to do is you're going to want to search the particular sites to find the internship applications and find the internship opportunities. Okay. So if we go back, the Davidson and Washington program, that's something I'm going to talk about at the end. So we'll table that for towards the end of the program. Great opportunity information session taking place this week. So this is a fantastic resource for finding online either organizations or links about specific internship information, etc. So I encourage you to bookmark this once you've located it. Okay. So let's head back. So again, just kind of summarizing the online resources that we've talked about. This is the hyperlink to that guide that I was showing you. All of these particular sites you will find located in that guide. So just be sure to check all of those out. Okay, so what are you going to have to do whenever you are, applying for positions? What are the application materials that they're going to be looking for? They are definitely going to be interested in your LinkedIn profile. So if you are not familiar with LinkedIn, in my follow-up email, I will be sending you information about LinkedIn. It is a social network specifically for professional development. Whether you are interested in government and policy, technology, business, healthcare, it doesn't matter to me. LinkedIn is a must-have for professional development. So not only you're searching for internship, you're searching for a full-time job, but it's a fantastic resource to connect with people. It's a fantastic resource to learn about a particular professional area of interest or areas of interest that you might have. So again, if you either don't have a LinkedIn profile or you have one, but you want to become familiar with it, I highly encourage you to stop into the Matthews Center for a drop-in appointment, because this is a must. There is a good probability that when you do apply for internships and prior to you perhaps doing an interview, don't be surprised if any of the supervisors or the recruiters are hopping on LinkedIn to take a look at your profile. It's become just kind of that staple. Speaking of staples, the resume and the cover letter. You will be asked to submit a resume and very oftentimes a cover letter and application for any internships that you might be applying to. There are resources at that Handshake resource website that I showed you. And this is also something that Matthews Center Career Advisors can assist you with. If you haven't had your resume reviewed yet by a career advisor, or if you have, but you have since done some summer experiences or other on-campus involvement and you've updated it, I encourage you to come by and have somebody take a look at that updated resume before you start sending it out to applications, just to make sure that it's doing the best job of marketing your experience and your qualifications. Cover letter. Everybody thinks the resume is scary until they write the cover letter, and then people don't know what goes into a cover letter, and we can help with that as well. I like to explain that a cover letter and a resume work together. The resume is the highlights of all of your skills and experience and qualifications and background. And the cover letter is the more personalized document that you send along with that resume to draw attention to certain highlights. So think of it as the highlights of the highlights. Again, there's a cover letter guide in Handshake, but we can also review a cover letter that you might be sending prior to you submitting it for applications. It's not uncommon for policy positions or positions in politics or government for them to request a writing sample. Many of these particular positions are going to be writing intensive, and so they may very well be looking for you to submit a writing sample. I always like to encourage people, a cover letter is a sample of your writing, so take it seriously. But a writing sample is another sample where they may be just wanting to see what your writing style is. How you handle writing samples. Again, there is a resource to talk about this in the resource section in Handshake, but you can send in a particular paper that you may have written for a class, as long as the paper is a shortened paper. So perhaps a 2 to 3 page paper could suffice. You want to send in what you feel is the best example of your writing style. And so if the best example of your writing style is a longer, more extensive research paper or other paper that you worked on for a class, what you can do is copy and paste a section of that paper onto a new document. Give that paper a title. So for example, it might be excerpt from paper, name of paper written for this particular class, and reference what that section that you're submitting is addressing. So any questions about writing samples specifically, we can address them as you are getting into the applications, because every organization may have different criteria for their writing samples that they request. References. References are basically people who an organization is going to contact to make sure that you are somebody that they should really be interested in to interview or offer a position to. Unlike letters of recommendation, references, usually organizations will call or email to ask questions of your references. People who may have written letters of recommendation could also serve as your reference, but you're just going to be submitting their contact information differently. Question I get often is, when do I submit my reference list and how do I submit my reference list? The reference list is a separate document. You do not include your references as part of your resume. The separate document will simply have your name and the title reference list. You will list perhaps no less than 3 people, no more than 5. And for each reference, you will list that person's name, their title, their place of employment, and their contact information, primarily an email address and a phone number. When you submit them is when you are asked to submit them. Some organizations may ask for you to submit your references as part of your application, so with your resume, cover letter, and a list of references. Other organizations will request you to submit your references after they've done the interviews. After you've done the interviews, they'll send you a note to say, we'd like to check your references, and that's when you can supply them. So just always being sure that you're following their process in place and having those references listed as a separate document. And be sure to contact your references. It's helpful to give them a heads up if you've submitted their contact information. It puts you in a better light because when that person from that organization calls that reference to do a check, they're not taken off guard. They know exactly, perhaps the position that you are applying to and are able to give a great reference for you. Interviewing skills. You're going to have at least 1 round, possibly 2, possibly 3 rounds of interviews for internship opportunities. I encourage you to utilize the Matthews Center if you've never had the opportunity to have a professional interview before, or even if you have and you think you just like to brush up on your interviewing skills, we can definitely help with that. You can stop by for a drop-in appointment to just ask questions and get some, tips about interviewing. What I think is most helpful is scheduling a mock interview appointment through Handshake. A mock interview is where you will spend an hour with a career advisor role-playing a job interview. The career advisor will role-play being the recruiter and asking you typical questions that you may expect in that interview. And you will provide the answers. And then the 2 of you will go over what worked, what didn't work, what needs improvement, what you thought. It's a great, safe space to just develop confidence and practice your interviewing skills. Follow up. Yes, that is part of the application materials. That could be anything from a thank you email that you send after your interview to reiterate your interest in the position, to a thank you email or continued email correspondence to somebody who you have a career conversation with. So definitely part of the application process. And again, if you have questions about any of these particular topics, that's what our office is here for, is to help you put your best foot forward whenever you are applying for positions. Okay, speaking of career conversations, they are a must. We can't get around them. You can have all of the saved searches in Handshake that you want. You can be visiting all of the online sites on a daily basis. If you are only using online sites, you are only seeing the top part of the iceberg. All of the other opportunities, all of the other information that you can learn is below the surface. And you learn that information through having career conversations. So what we're talking about here is networking. So this is the only interactive portion of tonight's program, I promise. I want to hear from people, and you can just shout it out or put it in the chat. When you think of networking, what is networking? How does it feel? Networking is, just go ahead and shout it out. All right, I got one and a consent. Okay, it's an established correct connection. Thank you, Asmi. How else would you describe networking? Got any shout outs? A bit uncomfortable. Thank you. Yes. Does networking feel awkward? Can I see like a nod of heads, or you're nodding there and I can't see you because you don't have your screen on? Networking feels uncomfortable. Networking feels, what else have I heard? Icky. It seems like I'm schmoozing. It seems like I'm only using somebody. All of these negative descriptions to describe networking. That is completely understandable. But what makes it tricky is when you have networking, which is necessary and important, and you put it together with all of these nasty descriptions, and they don't go together, that makes an absolute necessary tool in your job search kit even more challenging to use. And so what I encourage people to do is, number one, maybe even just changing the language. Networking sounds so formal, right? Networking sounds like it's just this formal process that you have to go through. I call it having career conversations with people. I really just call it being nosy about what people do in their job, because that's what we're doing. Having career conversations with people who are working in either roles that look interesting to you, who are working in organizations that look interesting to you, who have a professional background that when you looked at their LinkedIn profile looked really interesting to you, and you would just like to learn more. I have yet to meet, and I've been working a long time, I have yet to meet a person who is not interested in having a conversation with somebody about their profession or their professional background. I've had 2 within the past 3 weeks, people who have found me on LinkedIn and who are either interested in learning about working at Davidson College or learning about working in career services. I love both, so I was more than happy to take some time to chat with them. And that's what you're looking to do. You're looking to have a conversation with somebody for 20 to 30 minutes about their background. And how it can be so helpful is that's how you're going to find out about all of this information below the water. That's how you're going to find out about how that particular person got their start working in a particular organization. You're going to see on their LinkedIn profile internships that they did while they were at Davidson, if they're an alum, and how they got to work in that particular organization. You're going to ask them about resources that they may know about. Because I know about a lot of different resources, but for every resource that I know, there's probably 5 more that are particular to an organization or an industry that somebody who is in that industry or in that organization knows about. What I suggest for having career conversations, start with people that you know. And you don't have to be from the District of Columbia. You don't have to be, connected to somebody who works in Washington, D.C. What you want to do is you want to let people know that you are interested in possibly interning in D.C. in the summer. And you will be amazed who knows somebody, family of friends, friends of family, professors, coaches, if we have any scholar athletes on tonight's call, advisors, previous supervisors from previous jobs. You never know who knows somebody, and they're not going to know until you start letting them know that you're looking. Alums, oops, got ahead of myself there. Alumni, you have a fantastic alumni base. You need to be connecting with them. I meet with more alums who tell me, I haven't heard from any Davidson students. I've signed up for Davidson Connect, which is the one resource that I have listed here. And I'm going to send you in my follow-up email. This will be hyperlinked. Davidson Connect is an online portal whose sole purpose is to connect Davidson alums with other alums, as well as with students. There's a mentoring section. And while I've never met a Davidson student who isn't willing to, a Davidson alum, who isn't willing to help a student with their professional development, the mentoring section of Davidson Connect makes it super easy to find people, because in that section, it indicates that they are willing to be mentors and indicates how they're willing to help you. LinkedIn, on the LinkedIn Davidson College page, there are over 18,000 for you to connect with. You can, through various LinkedIn groups, connect with people. I'm not going to take the time right now to show you, because a LinkedIn program is a program in and of itself. So again, I encourage you to stop by the Matthews Center or come, hop on the resource page to look at the LinkedIn section to learn about LinkedIn. We have a networking guide that not only lists sample emails of how to request a career conversation, so it's kind of already done, and all you need to do is just modify it to pick your particular interests and your particular name and academics, etc. We have questions that you can ask in that career conversation. So I can't emphasize enough how key this is. If you're finding yourself thinking, I know that I need to do this, but I just don't know how to start, please come in and talk to us, because if you're not engaged with career conversations with people, you're missing out on so many different opportunities. Okay. I wanted to mention some upcoming programs of interest that, given who is in this particular program tonight, I think might be of interest to you. The Davidson in Washington program is a specific program, if you are not aware of it, that is offered through the political science department, but is open to all students, current freshmen, sophomores, and juniors from all majors, or even if you are a first year or a second year who has not yet declared their major. The Davidson in Washington program, essentially you have a cohort of students who are in Washington, D.C. for 8 weeks. You are taking a policy seminar that is taught by Davidson instructors. And while you are there, so that policy seminar takes place in the evening, and while you are there, you are required to also complete an internship during the day. And you earn 1 credit for each, a credit for the seminar, a credit for the internship. If you're interested in learning more about that, these are all hyperlinked in Handshake to the event specifics. There's an event and information session taking place this Wednesday at 4:30. Resumania, also this Wednesday. If you are in the union, you are going to see balloons and food and hear music, and all of us career advisors who will be sitting at tables in the atrium all-day drop-in advising to review resumes with students. So please stop by. It's a great opportunity to have your resume looked at prior to applying to all of your internships. If I have anybody here who is interested possibly in law school, this might be a program of interest to you. How do you make a standout law school application? It's not specifically for juniors or seniors who are going to be applying in the next couple of years. This is going to be an information session, from everything from what do I put on my application to, as an undergraduate, what are things that I can get involved with? We're very excited to have the Dean of Admissions from Duke Law, who will be on campus again. He loves to come back every fall to give particular programs to Davidson students. And then that sets you up for the first week in November. Every year, we have the Greater Charlotte Law School Fair. Right now, we have upwards of 45 law schools who are registered to visit our campus that day to talk to you about their programs and about just law school admissions in general. Getting back to my original program, and I can see that I need to update this because the first session has already taken place. Getting back, to my original point about applying to federal jobs and how to navigate that process. These are 3 information sessions that are being offered by the Partnership for Public Service, which is one of the organizations that I mentioned. Next one is coming up October 9th, and there will also be one Tuesdays, November 7th. They last about 45 minutes to an hour. I attended last week's session that was on the 20th. It's fantastic. Great information, sharing screen, walking through USA jobs and how to find jobs and flag jobs and look for particular internships. If you are really interested in possibly looking at federal opportunities with agencies or departments, I highly encourage you to attend the Thursday, the October session or the November session. Okay, you're the driver in all of this, all right? Searching for an internship can be an incredibly exhaustive process. I completely understand that. These are tips that I find myself saying to students throughout that process. You want to make the search part of your daily routine. Students who say, I'm going to get to the internship search when I finish and then fill in the blank. After I go to this club meeting, after I've done this homework assignment, after I study for this exam. What's understandably going to happen is that internship search gets pushed off until later in the evening when you're too tired, or on the weekends when you just kind of want to chill and relax and regroup. Can definitely be done on the weekend, but make it a part of your daily routine that, okay, I've got time in between classes. Maybe I'll hop on and see what new internships are in Handshake that I can flag. Or I know on Thursdays from 3 to 4, I don't have class. I am going to be in a new class called Internship Search, and I'm going to be making it part of my routine. Tracking your progress. I have linked here a spreadsheet that has different tabs to help you track your progress as you are searching for particular opportunities. Positions that you found that are of interest, another tab, positions that you applied for, another tab to keep track of the people that you are reaching out to for career conversations, etc. Know that you're going to need to repeat reaching out. That's a big obstacle that I hear from students when it comes to career conversations. Well, I emailed somebody and they never emailed me back, so that must mean that they're too busy. What that means is that they're probably busy and they didn't have the opportunity to reply to your email yet. It could also mean that your email went to their spam folder, unfortunately. We're never going to know unless we keep reaching out. I say to people, you need to reach out a minimum of 3 times before you think about maybe this person it's not the right time to be reaching out to them. Because the first time that email comes in, you never know what was going on. You never know what their inbox looks like. The second time, again, circumstances, things could be taking place. The third time is when you can email them to say, I'm just following up on the 2 emails that I've sent. If now is not a good time, please let me know, and I'm happy to discontinue reaching out to you. I am guilty as charged. I have had the circumstance where students have emailed me a particular question, and I'll open that email and I'll mean to reply to it, and then I get into my student appointments, I get into programs, I get into meetings, and then my inbox gets deeper and deeper and deeper. And next thing I know, that email that I opened from the student is opened. I can't find it because I forgot to move it to my emails I have to reply to box. So I appreciate it when the student calls me out and, a week later or a week and a half later, emails me again because it draws my attention to it and it makes me reply to them. So you're going to need to reach out. Be aware of deadlines because deadlines are set. So just be aware of the deadlines that are coming up. This is where I like to tell students, and this is where students' eyes get really big. You want to think, how many should I be applying to? Multiple numbers. What I've said to students in the past is you want to, let's say, for example, if you're applying for summer internships, possibly 30 applications is what you could be targeting. Now, that doesn't mean for you to think, okay, I'm going to apply to 30 and then I'm done. You keep applying to internships that are of interest to you. But I pull the number 30 to show an example. So say you apply to 30 different internship opportunities. You might, and I'm being, very positive, you might hear back from half of them, either letting you know that you've been selected for an interview or not. So already we're down to 15. So of those 15, you may hear back for an interview from half of them. Now we're already down to perhaps 7 or 8. Of those 7 or 8, you might be offered the position from half of them. So we're down to 3 or 4. So 30 applications can go to 3 or 4 pretty quickly. So number one, being aware of deadlines, starting the internship search soon, following up, and engaging in career conversations is going to definitely increase opportunities for you. But just know that you'll still be applying to a lot of particular positions. And please ask for help as you're going along. Don't wait until the last minute to say, what have I been doing wrong? Chances are you're not doing anything wrong. You just need to be searching and just brainstorming with people. So I encourage you to just reach out and ask for help. And how do you find me? Definitely by email. But again, remember, there's a lot of you and only one of me. So reach out to email. And if I don't reply to you within, the week or so, I try to do within, 2 to 3 days. If you haven't heard from me, please, get back in touch with me. You can schedule an appointment with me through Handshake, virtual or in person, depending on if I'm in the office or not. I can say that my schedule does book up. So right now I'm booking into the second week in October. So just be aware of that time frame. I think one of the best ways to reach me is if you're available Thursday mornings from 9:15 until actually after lunch, stop by the office. That's where I have my drop-in session. So second floor in Alvarez, no appointment necessary. We can grab at least 15 minutes, which we can probably cover a lot of ground during that time, and even more if there's no students who are waiting. So I highly recommend the drop-ins and then schedule an appointment if you have some more extensive questions. Okay. I'm going to quit sharing my screen. And I'm going to pause and take a drink because I've been talking a lot. And I'll leave some awkward Zoom silence time for if anybody has a question that they want to raise their hand or they want to yell out, or if you want to drop it into the chat.
I actually have a question.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask whether there's a quick way to find internships that are open to internationals. Because I expect a lot of government positions not to be open to internationals.
Yes, good question. And thank you for asking that. So yes, there will be for, the federal agency, there will be citizenship requirements. My suggestion is going to be to really be focusing on the think tanks and public policy organizations or nonprofit focused organizations within your areas of interest, because think tanks and policy organizations are more likely to not require U.S. citizenship for their positions.
Thank you.
Yes. Any other questions? Okay, I'd love for people to either put in the chat, or again, you can just say out loud, what is something that you've learned tonight or something that was reiterated to you that's going to be helpful as you are moving forward in this internship search?
I think for me, like the newest thing I learned was emailing 3 times. I like heard it 2 times, but 3 times was like, whoa, okay.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, you never know, right? Like, I think I mean, I like to give people an element of grace. You never know, like, what somebody's circumstances are. Especially when we have a hybrid work environment, like oftentimes people may be out of the office on Mondays or Fridays, and then their inbox can get very full. I highly recommend, oh, and here's another tip. I highly recommend when you're sending emails, don't send them to arrive on a Monday or don't send them to arrive on a Friday. Again, people take long weekends, or especially Mondays, like that's when I'm getting caught up on my emails. That's when we're all kind of like, oh, it's Monday. Like even the person who loves their job can still have the Mondays, right? But when so even if it's like, okay, Monday is my day to send out my requests for informational meetings, schedule it in Outlook to arrive to their inbox Tuesday, or schedule it to arrive like, maybe even Wednesday, like later afternoon. Because in that way, they're kind of in the groove, their inbox isn't so full from over the weekend, etc. So that's another tip that I would offer. Okay. All right. I'm glad that people are going to be using the internships. Glad to hear that the mock interviews was really helpful. I just really encouraged that. And yes, there's a lot of different resources to take a look at in addition to Handshake. So I hope that you'll utilize all of them. You'll start to find the ones that are going to be most helpful for you as you start to think about what your particular areas of interest are. And I know it sounds very common sense, but don't underestimate the power of Google. Like many internship opportunities, I will find by putting in a catchphrase with the word internship. So it might be, public policy summer internships, Washington, D.C. It might be, if there's a particular area of interest you have, education policy internships or education policy organizations in Washington, D.C. And then that can take you to a whole list of organizations. And then going onto those organization websites to inquire what types of opportunities might they have. So again, I know it sounds very common sense, but more than enough times whenever I've been searching with a student an appointment and they have a particular area of interest, I'm like, well, let's see what Google can show us. And it usually does not disappoint. Okay. I'm really happy that you guys all took some time to attend tonight. I did record the session. I don't know if I'll get to it this evening, but I promise that I will be sending this out to you if you registered for the program. If you didn't, shoot me an email, Kelli Robinson, so that I can make sure that you get the information. And then please stop by, utilize our office as you get ready for the search. We're here to help you, okay? Thanks, everybody. I hope you have a good night.